we are going to see about impression compound. Impression compound is a rigid impression material. It is also a thermoplastic, reversible, inelastic impression material, which is used for making primary impressions. The composition of this impression compound is that rosin, copal resin, carnauba wax, stearic acid, talc, and coloring agents. It is of two types, that is low fusing and high fusing. Low fusing is impression compound and high fusing is tray compound. Next, we'll move on to the video. In this video, we are going to see about making an impression using the impression compound on the mandibular cast. Basically using a mandibular cast, we are going to make impression with the impression compound. Firstly, we are taking the mandibular cast and we are applying the separating medium so that your impression compound does not stick onto the cast. Vaseline is nicely applied all over the cast so that the impression compound does not stick over the cast. This is what is done here in this video. Next, we'll move on to the second video where we are going to make the impression. Firstly, the impression compound is softened in a water bath in which the water temperature is about 55 to 60 degrees. The impression compound, once it is softened, it is just kneaded and rolled and then loaded onto the tray. The kneading is done in order to get a uniform plasticity and is loaded onto the tray. The tray onto which it is loaded is non-perforated edentulous stock tray, and the indentations are made using the finger. The indentations are made using the finger so that it represents the ridge when it's placed over the mandibular cast ridge. After which the loaded tray is placed onto the mandibular cast. The placement should be along the midline of the mandibular cast, and that is your midline of the tray and your midline of the mandibular cast should coincide, should be along the same line. This is the important point. Your midline of your mandibular cast should coincide with the midline of your tray. Then it is placed, then the placement of your tray is correct. Once the impression is loaded, it is adapted all over the cast so that you get an accurate impression. Once the impression sets, it is removed. See, again, that's what I'm saying in this video. Your midline of the cast should coincide with the midline of the tray. This is what is delted here, and all the extra impression material should be removed using the BP blade. All the extra impression material should be removed using the BP blade. Next, we'll see about the properties. Important properties are glass transition temperature and fusion temperature. Glass transition temperature is nothing but the temperature at which the material loses its hardness, and it's about 39 degrees centigrade. And the fusion temperature indicates the reduction in plasticity of the material when the plastic marks in order to make the impression. Whereas in glass transition temperature, you won't be able to make an impression. Only in the fusion temperature, you'll be able to make the impression. Next, we'll see about the viscosity. Viscosity of this impression compound is 70 times greater than the impression plaster, and it's 100 times greater than the light body elastomers. The advantage of this viscosity is that you will be able to record the impression of a edentulous patient with the full depth of the sulcus. Whereas the disadvantage is that the fine details cannot be recorded since the viscosity is higher. Next is that advantage of this impression compound. Advantage of this impression compound is that it's cheap, reusable, it does not irritate patient, it can be remodified and resoftened. Even once the impression is made, if it's not accurate, you can again soften the impression material and you can again make an impression. Next is this disadvantage is that you will be not able to, since because of this viscosity, you will not be able to record the finer details. And the impression made here is using a mucocompressive technique where you will distort your mucosa and then make an impression. And disadvantage is as well as it does not have a pleasant taste. Thank you.